Welcome to the Courageous Entrepreneur Show. This is the show that shares information and inspiration to help you break free from self-doubt, limiting beliefs, and disempowering patterns, and break through to create the thriving, successful business you dream of and deserve. I'm your host, Winnie Anderson. The show features interviews with entrepreneurs who've overcome amazing challenges to create success on their terms, and experts who share insight and practical information to help you move forward with courage, confidence, and clarity, so you, the introverted, mission-driven entrepreneur, can consistently reach your biggest goals. If you like what you hear, I hope you'll share the show with others, and you can visit winnieanderson.com/yourway, all one word, winnieanderson.com/yourway, to get the show notes, resources, and links for this episode. Or you can head to couragepodcastfan.com and register to become a fan of the show. You'll get access to all the episodes organized by season as well as by topic, along with show notes, resources, and bonus content, all for free. If you've worked hard to achieve a goal and then discovered that you didn't really want what you had gotten, you'll find a lot to relate to in this episode, especially if you build a business around a model that made you miserable or just didn't work out for you. Jade Richmond is an acclaimed business and legal strategist who empowers women to embrace their true power bossness and turn their business into an empire. From rock-solid business structures to impenetrable contracts, she shows them how to get legal, legit, and profitable. A first-generation college graduate, Jade finished law school determined to live the fairy tale that every up-and-coming attorney dreams of: seven-figure salary, partnership, prestige. Jade landed a position with one of the top intellectual property law firms in the Detroit metro area and quickly earned her superstar spot, working on the continued preservation of Malcolm X's and Alex Haley's heirs' legacy. A complicated labor left her 1.3-pound baby in the NICU and Jade with complex health problems. She ended up bankrupt, but risked it all to have it all. She's committed to helping women build something big and understand all the words above the dotted line and the value of the assets that could make or break their bottom line. Listen in as Jade shares the quarter-life crisis she had at 25 and what she realized, what she finally did to get the clarity she needed, how she broke free from the typical attorney model to provide better service and create a more joyful life for herself. She shares how she built a six-figure business and shares her thoughts on the strategic priorities that we manage as entrepreneurs. As always, listen all the way to the end, where I'll share your cocktail exercise and action step for this episode. All right. So, Jade, thank you so much for being with me today. I'm excited to have you here and to share your story with everybody. So, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. You know, we have something big in common. We both had what I call a quarter life crisis, right? We hit 25 and suddenly it was, what the heck am I doing and where am I going? So Why don't you tell us about yours?
Yeah, so I was working at a celebrity law firm here in Detroit. And, you know, to be the first generation in my family to go to college and then go to grad school and then be a lawyer, you know, that's pretty awesome, right? You know, so, but something weird happened. You know, I hit 25 and everything just came crumbling down. I started questioning, is this what I want? You know, is this it for me? You know, is this the best I can do? And it just was like, I felt like I was having a 25-year-old life crisis. I shared with my husband. He was like, you're just crazy. You got a good job. You're making good money. You know, same thing with friends and stuff. They just thought I was just having a total mental breakdown. They were like, oh, you know, it's just a phase. You'll get over it. But I didn't get over it. So in the midst of all that, I kept dreaming about what do I want to do with my life? And not having any guidance or structure on, you know, goal setting, goal planning, and like, what's the next step? Not having a mentor at the law firm. It was just like a lot, you know? And so for me, it was just like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah. You know, I think that, boy, in that one issue, there's so much that I think we can all relate to. Obviously, you busted your butt. That is, that's a tremendous amount to overcome. I think I was not the first person in my family to go to college, but like the second. I mean, it was, it wasn't a lot of us who did that. And then to get a full 4-year degree, et cetera. And, I know there's a goal setting way of thinking that says, if you don't have continuous, as you're saying, continuous goals to shoot for, you achieve that one big thing and then there's this massive letdown. So yeah, I think there's really a lot of importance there in figuring out exactly why am I so unhappy at this point. So how did you manage to come to the center of exactly what it was that dissatisfied you? You said you didn't really have a mentor or someone that you could look up to for guidance at your firm, which that's a whole nother issue. But so what did you do?
So basically I just, I had to sit with self, like after all these years, after all this schooling, this torture of law school, all
Right.
this money, just like really doing a self-assessment, like why did I do these things? Why, like you said, why am I so unhappy? And at the root of it all, it was I did these things for attention, to be the first, for the applause, so to speak. It wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do, but because I was good in academia, it was like, okay, what's the, like in Black families, they say, you either become a lawyer or a doctor, and that's an honor. And so,
Right.
and that's pretty much how my family was. It was like, it was just always, it wasn't necessarily, how do I say this, a forced pressure, but just the idea of just making my family happy and to say like I was the first to do it. It was really my ego at one end of the spectrum, and then also just not wanting to let other people down. But it wasn't deep down inside, it wasn't something I truly wanted to do.
Yeah, wow, there's so much in there, and I can't believe how, I just want to give you a standing ovation for even admitting all of that
Yeah.
to yourself,
Yeah.
to having that cognitive moment. And I think that there's so much there that gets tied up in not just our ego, but our emotions, because
Mhm.
we tell ourselves, I spent a stinking fortune,
Mhm.
right, on law school. I don't care what year you go in, it's a fortune.
Yes.
Even my education certainly wasn't that expensive, but it was pricey for somebody in my economic standing, and
Mhm.
I had to work 3 jobs and take out loans and pay my own way. And it's you start thinking about, I've spent all this money, I can't go back now.
Mhm.
Right. I can't make the change now. Did you experience any of those thoughts too? After I've shelled out all this money, I'm just going to
No,
throw it all
I think
away.
for me, at that point, I was just so unhappy that it was
Okay.
like, it
Yeah.
didn't even matter. The money
Yep.
didn't matter. I
Yep.
didn't care if I was in debt. It just really didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
got to
my
save
peace of
myself.
mind was disrupted.
Yeah.
It's like, it was getting to the point where I would try to get fired. Like I would leave, like I had to be at work at 8. I wouldn't get to work till like 9 or 10. That's how bad it was. And, when I would get to work, I was having anxiety and panic attacks. That's how bad it was. So it was a non-negotiable. So
Yeah.
to me, of course, like my husband was like, well, you spent all this money and what about your loans? And to me, it was just like, I don't care about those loans. I don't care. My peace of mind, my mental state is more important than a job and money. And so for me, it was more so figuring out what it was that made me happy. And of course that can generate money.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that's brilliant, because in the end, it's only money. You'll
Mhm.
just go and get some, and what's the
Mhm.
worst that can happen? Oh, I'll pay the bills or not pay the bills. You hate to say that, but that's once your mental and physical health are in jeopardy, something's got to happen.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about some of these things that you really discovered about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
One, that you were doing things to make other people happy, maybe, or to have that achievement moment. What are some of the other big ahas that you had along this journey from where you were, law school triumph, to where you decided to pivot and go in a different direction?
Right. So really, that was really the only aha that I had. It was more so why, I was doing the things that I was doing. And when I did that, it was like, okay, it's time to shift gears.
Right,
So it was
right.
time to go through that process of rediscovery. Like, okay, what makes me happy? Okay, what am I really good at? That's not going to give me a panic or anxiety attack.
Right, right.
And so what I started noticing in the midst of me going through this self-discovery phase, there were other women coming into the law firm. And I will say this, I was the only woman at the time at the law firm. So that was a whole nother issue in itself.
Right.
And so as other women came in, other interns into the law firm, I found myself mentoring them. And I found that this was my happy high, helping other women, showing them how to elevate. So in a sense, personal and professional development, in the sense that I didn't have that mentorship, it gave me great joy to give that mentorship to other women, because I didn't want someone to wake up, years later, like, where the hell am I at? What am I doing? If I can save another woman from going through that process, that's where I was at the time when I decided to start dabbling into my hobby that eventually became a business later on.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. And I think it kind of speaks to that old adage that we teach or coach around that, which we need, right?
Yes,
That
yes.
we were looking for ourselves. That's really interesting. All right. So in your quest to, if you found that that you loved this whole element of personal/professional development, helping others, kind of coaching, maybe even before coaching was kind of a concept in your head professionally. And I know you then formed a business on your own, right? So can you tell us a little bit about the history of that, when you decided that I got to get out of here, literally, and you left the firm? What was that next step? Because you started another enterprise, right?
Right. So it wasn't, okay, so I need to go back. So it wasn't that fluid that, okay, I had this aha moment, then I started a business, because that's
Right.
not what happened. So
Okay.
I don't want people to be thinking that that's what happened, because that's not what happened at all. Actually, what happened was life events happened to me, and I got
Okay.
sick. I was pregnant. It was unexpected, and I got really, really sick. And I was hospitalized, and I ended up delivering my daughter at 24 weeks. So that's about almost 4 months, barely 5 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So I delivered her. She was 1 pound, 3 ounces. In the midst of that, I was hospitalized. In Michigan, we have at-will employment. What that meant was that I got fired. So this hobby that I had in my head, that meant that, no money's coming in now because I'm fired. So that meant that I had to figure out how to get money. And so this is when I said, because like I said, I was mentoring women and things like that, playing with the idea of starting a business. The business wasn't started yet. And so then I decided, I had no choice, had to make money. Me in the hospital, daughter in the NICU, no medical insurance or anything like that. So while my daughter was in the NICU, I started really building the business. I learned the actual business at that point.
Okay.
And so that was really the turning point, because it was no plan A or plan B. It was kind of by force. So it wasn't something that I, with my analytical rational mind, would have liked to do, just fall into something. It was more so I rather plan it, but that did not work out that way, because, as life is, things just come at you and you got to roll with it. And so that's what really happened to force me to start the business. And that was like really the turning point. And so at the time I called it Search for Her Existence, because at the time I was searching for who I was. And so that was where the name came from. And before the previous logo, it was women with no faces. That was the original logos, because women were searching for who they are, because the focus was personal and professional development at the time for Search for Her Existence. And so that's really the focal point of when things started changing. And then I got sick, and then I went into kidney failure. And so still have to build the business regardless.
Right.
Still got medical bills, daughter still in the NICU. And so really I was building a business while I was sick. And so that's why it was called Search for Her Existence. And so the focus at the time was personal and professional development. But when I started the business, like I had no clue. Like, yeah, I was a lawyer. I knew the legal stuff, but legal and operating a business is two different things. I had no clue. So in the midst of that, I failed a lot, but because there was no plan B, failure wasn't an option. It was like, okay, let's figure this thing out. And at the time I thought I really didn't like law because like I said, I did that self-assessment. So I thought I hated law because the environment I was in. But as time went on, I kept getting certain questions from women. Even though I was doing personal and professional development, it was always legal questions. And so I'm like, I'm not advertising legal, but a lot of people knew me as that legal person. And so I was like, okay, do I really want to do legal? Because when I was doing it, I was having panic and anxiety attacks. And so what I felt, so I started taking on, I was still doing personal and professional development, but then I started doing some legal things on the side to see, okay, is this really what I wanted to do? And what I discovered was that I actually liked law, but I was doing it on my own terms, which made me happy. Like I wasn't charging billable hours because I thought that was a scam. I will only work with women, which I absolutely love, to see them start their babies and see them blossom and make sure that they're legit. That was another happy place. So it reminded me of how I felt when I was mentoring women in the law firm to actually helping women start legal businesses. And so as it evolved, I went from the startup phase to the actually maintaining or protecting women's assets. And so that's kind of how the evolution of, it took me failing at the beginning of the business to see like, okay, this is not working. Something's got to give. Like, I feel like I'm pretty smart now, but just putting it in perspective, no one really wants to pay, to accommodate my lifestyle. We'll just say it like that. No one wants to really pay for personal and professional development when you can buy a book, you can listen to an audio, people pay for coaching, but for me, I wasn't trying to be a personal coach or a life coach or anything like that, because to me, I felt like I wasn't qualified because I was a hot mess myself. And so, that's really how the evolution of it came for me, just really falling into the business because of life circumstances and just trying to figure it out because I have this little person depending on me plus me and my health. So it was kind of like failure was really no option for me.
Right. But you mentioned that you did fail a lot.
I did.
So let's just clarify, what are your definitions of failures? And, can you just give us an example of one on your journey?
Yeah, so like I said, the personal professional development part of the business that I had, it was a failure. Like it didn't generate money.
That's a failure.
That first year, I want to say I generated under $3,000.
Yeah.
So that was a huge failure. And then I had to go back to the drawing board to figure out like, okay, what is it that I'm doing wrong? And what I found was that I wasn't serving the people I wasn't giving them what they wanted. I wasn't giving the people what they wanted. And really what they wanted was legal consultation and business advice.
Right. Yeah. I think the other big interesting thing that you point out is that you thought you hated what you were doing, but it was in actuality the environment and the constraints that you were forced to work in because of the model, right? The standard law firm model, which get the billable hours, 1 million hours of working, etc. And once you were freed from that kind of model, I think my interpretation as I listen and as I've read a little bit about you is that you're taking what you really did enjoy doing, consulting with people, right, and women especially, and you started to make it fit a model that you wanted. Would you say that's true? Okay, great. Yeah.
What I do is so unorthodox in the legal community, and it's kind of like bending along the lines of legal ethics because they have, we are all bound by these certain laws
Right.
as attorneys. And, they want us to, if you're an attorney, they prefer you to have a law firm. They prefer, but it's not a legal requirement. And me, I don't have a law firm. I have a business, a consulting firm, and we do legal things, but everything we do is legal, but it doesn't fit, a lot of lawyers here where I'm at. They're like, Renee, you don't do it like us. I'm like, I know. I don't want to. I don't want to do billable hours. I don't want to force people into retainer agreements. Because my goal is not to steal your money. My goal is to help you protect your assets, make sure you're legal, and I don't have to do that through billable hours. I don't have to charge you 50 hours to get one thing done. And for me, it was draining to see people who are really trying to do good in their business or their lives. And I felt like we were stealing from them, when I was at the law firm. I really felt that in my spirit, like we were stealing their money. Yeah. Like, why would I charge you $300 to send an email that I can do in my sleep? Right. Or why would I send you $500 just to call you to update you on your file? It was things like that was draining me. And to know it, to me, that was wrong. But in the law, it is legal.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband's a corporate attorney, so he gets paid a salary, and which I think is kind of the same mentality that you're working under. I get a flat amount and I do this work within that flat amount. And he refers to things like you're talking about as almost padding the file, that it's just a way to, as you're saying, generate more revenue when I'll work as efficiently as I can within the constraint of that fee agreement, we'll call it, right? Which is the same thing as for him as a salary, and for you, it's a flat project kind of amount. Yeah. And I really think that this whole conversation is really about model. And so many of us are just unfamiliar with, I've talked about this before. When we start our business, we just start out with what we see and what we know. We often don't really take the time because we're just not aware that we can, right? It kind of like giving ourselves permission to create a model that works for us and works for the client. So that's, I think, what I'm hearing and feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you're saying. Yeah, that's really powerful. I really think that is such a tremendous issue for so many of us. We see gurus or we see other people. I mean, just the fact that you became an attorney, you don't see other people like you. I think women in general, right? There are certain professions where, especially women of a certain age like me, we never saw I never saw a woman who was a lawyer when I grew up. There were no female lawyers of any color or any stripe. There just weren't any. So it never hit me to think about becoming one, and no one could then fuel any interest that I had in anything else, right? So you just go into this path. Anyway, I think that's a really fascinating conversation and issue. So let's talk about the courageous actions that are necessary for building and growing any business. And just one is the whole self-awareness that you obviously have, which I think is fantastic. But let's start right at the top, right, with marketing, because if there's no marketing, obviously there's no real business. So as you were growing your business, how did you market it? And two, then how did you balance marketing for new clients with serving your existing clients? Because I think that's always a struggle for us too.
Right. So marketing, when I first started, had no concept. So it was more so, and it was difficult for me because I didn't want to be seen as a failure, because a lot of people knew me as the lawyer, right?
Right.
So just starting this whole business thing, it was a real struggle for me. And plus, I didn't want to hear my family's mouth. So generally where I started was I would go to events. I went to local events here in Detroit. So I did that. And then I vended at tables and things like that. Got my name out there. And that's really how I started getting my first clients. Just really testing the waters, seeing what they wanted, seeing how I can serve them. And again, like I said, that recurring theme kept popping up. They wanted legal help. They didn't want the personal professional development. Yeah. They wanted that legal help. So that's really how I started, was just word of mouth. And that's really how people referred me to other people, because I really didn't do a lot of online marketing because I had that fear that first year, so to speak, in business. Right. But then moving forward to the second year, when I started shifting from the personal professional development to actually business consulting, that's when I started to see the shift in the business. The marketing, I wouldn't say it ever changed from from current clients to new clients. I think it was always the same because it was always word of mouth. People just really love my personality. They love the level of integrity and character, professionalism that I gave them, that I really never really had to market. And I was always blessed. So honestly, I've been in business 5 years. I haven't really started a marketing plan or strategy until this last year. Honestly, literally, I have not. I've been blessed to have a 6-figure business without a marketing plan at all.
Good for you.
So word of mouth, people, I end one client, next thing you know, they send 5 people my way.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the other piece to that, obviously you do great work because people aren't going to recommend that somebody go talk to somebody who's a loser, right? But I think also that also speaks to the fact that, back to this issue of model, that what you were doing, and yes, people need legal advice, right? There's lots of ways they can get legal advice. So it was the way you were providing it and the understanding that you had in terms of how this fits in with the actual business that the person is in. And I think when people see that, oh, I don't have to pay by the hour, I don't have to go to somebody's office and foot the bill for this big fancy schmancy facility that they're operating in. So I think that also then contributes to, you've created something that works for you, but it really must have resonated with those people who were saying, I want business legal advice.
I always ask them, I always ask my clients in my surveys to figure out why did they go with me.
Right.
And because I'm always curious, and the answer, the recurring theme that I get is that they like the way that I explain the law. It makes them feel comfortable. It makes them feel at home. I make them feel a part of a family that, even though they're not filing a trademark, they understand what's going on. They understand the process. They don't feel like they're just paying for a service and they really don't know. And a lot of things I get from clients when they hire a different attorney, they're like, I didn't know what this meant. They did this contract for me for my service, but I just don't understand it. So when I'm giving it to my clients, I don't even know how to explain it to them. It was just a lot of level of understanding that they didn't have. They felt like they were hiring an attorney, but they didn't understand what they were getting when they finally paid. And so that's the thing I've always gotten from my clients. Like, they feel like they understand. So when even if they go with someone else in the near future, they can articulate like, hey, this is what I got done before that's legal. And this is, I understand this is my trademark. It's protected for 10 years. It's in this category. And they know why it's in the category. It's not just, okay, I got this trademark because I needed it. It was like, okay, I got this trademark because I'm operating my business in X, Y, and Z, and this is how I'm protected. And if someone infringes upon it, this is what I do. I send this cease and desist, and if they don't stop, I file this claim in this court for this amount, and this is how much I can get. Like, they know the process, and they don't, so when they work with me, they have a general understanding. And on the flip side is that when I work with you, I just don't do your legal. I look at your business to figure out how does it fit in, because legal can be expensive. And as we know, and as I know, business structure can change what you're doing, what you're offering, so I want to see, what are you doing within the next 5 to 10 years? Have you even thought about that? So I'm just not focused on the right now in your business. I'm focused on the legal in the future as well. And that's what makes me so different. And my clients have a really great appreciation for that, because I'm like, okay, well, if you have this trademark, what happens if you say you want to do this certification program? What about licensing? What about franchising? What about contracts? How does that overplay in your business? So it does not extend to just the trademark. It extends to other legal components of your business and how it can tie into it. And so That's why I don't dub myself as an intellectual property attorney. I say I'm a business and legal strategist because I'm infusing business principles and legal principles together to ensure that you're protected overall.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that is very unique, and also speaks then to the sales process, because there's this educational piece. I refer to sales as 4 steps: educate, elevate, inspire, and invite. And you're certainly educating your folks in that this is a lot more complicated than you think it is, which then elevates you in their eyes. So there's so much there's so much baggage around sales and selling. And did you experience any of that in asking for the sale? Yes. Okay. So you want to talk about
it? Absolutely hated it. And here's why: because I still had that stigma from the law firm. So in my mind, it was just the icky thing to do, Yeah. And then like you said, then we had all these gurus say you have to do it this way. And it just, for me, I just didn't like it. And so I had to figure out what worked for me. And for me, like, I don't do sales. Like, I don't at all. What I do is I offer you value. And if you see value in what I offer, then you're going to say, hey, how can I work with you? Hey, what is the price? What is the investment? And that's pretty much how I do it. Now, I always do strategy calls. I used to do free discovery calls. I don't do them anymore. But what I do is I do a strategy call, because what I give you in that strategy call, you can actually go do it yourself. If you want to go file your trademark, because I tell you exactly what needs to happen. If you feel confident, you can literally take what I give you and run with it. And so that's why I charge now for my strategy calls. But no, I don't do sales calls at all. It just makes me feel icky. It gives me anxiety. I don't do them.
Yeah. And I think that as an attorney, and I know very well because my husband, there's just all this baggage around how because you want to position yourself as the true professional that you obviously are. And I remember when there weren't any attorney advertising, or there wasn't any attorney advertising at all. And then, okay, now we'll let you advertise. And then you run the risk of going to one extreme or the other. And so, yeah. And I think there's so many of us that are uncomfortable with sales, that it's a matter of figuring out the process and strategy that works for us as individuals. And personally, I love, and that's why I teach it, educate, elevate, inspire, and invite. And then it's a mutual respect.
Yes.
2 people. This is what I offer. This is what you need. I think what I offer fits with what you need. Do you want to work together? Yes or no?
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what I do now. So what I do is a lot of webinars, and at the end of the webinar, your next steps. If you want to work with me, yay. If not, here's some more free content you can enjoy. It's no pressure. It gives them to figure out what they want to do at their own pace. And that's pretty much how I do it. And I'm totally happy with that model.
Great. Awesome. So let's talk then about fulfilling. We love to do the work we do, obviously. So again, we're always juggling these strategic action, these courageous actions. So you've got to fulfill, but you've also got to do all of these other things that are required to manage and grow a business as well, right? So how do you manage to juggle that, right? To build your business and get done everything else? Do you have help? Do you have assistants who help you?
Okay, so one is the technology is so awesome. So a lot of stuff I use in the business to make it run so smoothly is technology. That's number one.
Right.
So from the onboarding process to sending out invoices to, keeping them up to date on their project, I use a platform called Dubsado. It manages everything, reminders, my calendar. So I don't have to worry about that. Then in terms of booking, we automated that.
Right.
People can book, the service that they need, and it's very detailed on, on what they need. So we don't have to even get on the telephone to talk, that you can just read about it. And we're going to have an intro video. So you have a clear understanding of, how you can work with us, X, Y, and Z. So before you actually pay money. So you can feel a little bit more comfortable. So that's a new way. So just handling the management of clients and the appointment is automated for us.
Great.
And then in terms of managing our projects, we use a platform called Asana. That's how we kind of see our team. They keep track of me, see my appointments. They see where I'm currently at on projects. They see what's due, what's been assigned. So yes, I do have a team. We use project management platforms to see where we are, to manage all of our different courses and things like that, see what needs to be updated. So yeah, that's how we manage it. We use those 3 different platforms.
And what was the first one?
Dubsado.
Can you spell that?
Dubsado.
Okay, great. I never heard of that one. That's been interesting. Great.
Yeah, it was just created within the last 2 years.
Okay.
And it's a really awesome platform. Have you heard of 17 Hats?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's similar to 17 Hats, but way more efficient.
Okay.
And so I definitely love it. Yeah, so I love tech, but I believe in simplicity. I don't believe you need 50 million things to get one thing done in your business. So those are the 3 platforms that really run our business.
Okay, so Dubsado, Asana, and what was the third?
The third was Acuity Scheduling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. And of course, we'll include links to those in the show notes and the resources mentioned. That's fantastic. So now let's look at creating then, right? That's the next courageous action. And most of us create, we've got a ton of stuff to create. We've got content, if nothing else, right, that we put out to market our business that way. Let's talk about that. You mentioned webinars. How do you manage to balance the creation, having time to create content for your marketing in addition to, doing everything else, having a life?
Right. So I batch record.
Okay.
So I pick a day out the week and then I just record a ton of content.
Okay.
So I kind of know, so every month in my business, so to speak, I have a different theme, but it revolves around two of my services, protecting your assets.
Right.
And it always revolves around that one-on-one, if you want to be profitable, because that's another side of my business, helping women make more money in their business after they're legal. Okay. And so those are the only 2 ways you can work with us. And so I create content around those 2 components, and then I repurpose content. Because I have a ton of content, I don't always have to recreate it. I can just put a different spin on what's already created, and then there it is. Because I've been in business so long, and I'm doing the same thing, I don't have to really create anything new. It's just retargeting the message.
Yep. Yeah. And that I think is brilliant and speaks to the power of and freedom that comes from focusing. Right. When you say, I'm not doing all this other stuff, I'm doing this, you give yourself permission, not just to be an expert, but to also just have a simpler life, right? Because you're this is all I do. This is it. If you want something else, go over there.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So we keep it pretty simple over here. And I found that that's really where my business began to explode, is when I just started keeping it simple. Not trying to do X, Y, and Z because the guru said do it or you had to do it. Like, no, I'm going to do it this way because this works for me and it feels good. It doesn't feel icky. It doesn't feel slimy. It feels good to do it this way. Yeah. Even though it's not traditional, so what? It works. And my clients love it. I love it. So what's the problem?
Yeah, I love that line in the sand that you've drawn, because while granted it makes sense for us when we don't know about running a business or that sort of thing, that we look, well, what else is out there? What is there to educate me? At some point, you have to make that decision. And yes, I follow gurus, you follow gurus, we follow the same gurus sometimes, but it's your business. You've got to make that decision that's right for you, because you've got to live it. The guru's not living it.
Exactly.
And we all tend to talk about things that are right for us. So
it's so funny because I remember one time someone messaged me on Facebook about my copy. They were like, it's written wrong. This is the wrong formula. I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it works. It makes me money. I'm very profitable. My clients aren't complaining. It's the copy that I've created, it makes them want to buy. So I'm not understanding, and I've been told that a lot by different marketing professionals. I'm like, hey, I'm the type of person, if it's not broken, no point in messing with it. My clients like it. They like my marketing. And that's one thing I will say about my marketing strategy now is that it comes from a place of authenticity. It's like I'm not forcing to sell on you. It's more so I'm sharing you with my experiences. And that's really how my marketing is. I'm sharing my experiences. And some of my clients, they're open to sharing their experiences based on why they needed legal and, the things that they did trying to do the DIY route and where it landed them, because in the midst of that, I've had my own, being a lawyer, was starting a business. Yeah, I'm a lawyer, but business principles is different, it's a whole nother ball game, and I've had my share of legal mishaps that I had to learn along the way. And in terms of learning those things, I teach my clients those things so they don't fall into those legal mishaps.
Yeah. I want to hammer that statement you've just made. Somebody told you your copy is wrong.
Yes.
I think that's one of the pluses of Facebook and social media, that we can just very easily, it's like I tell my husband all the time, it's like working in a cubicle environment. I just want to yell out, hey, what do you think about this? And you get these great responses. However, right, there are people who have a different style from us. Right? Yes. You've got people who are just, they believe, and this is why their beliefs, right? They believe that this kind of style or this kind of formula or language, right, is the best way. That's because it's the best way for them, not for us. So yeah, I shared some, I forget what it was I was working on, but I shared some maybe it was a headline in a group, a book title, that's what it was. And a lot of people in that group are what I would consider hypey. Mm-hmm. And, oh, that's terrible. You don't want to do that. You want to do this. And it was all this gross, really just hypey, icky stuff. But a few people were brave enough to say, I like it. Mm-hmm. And if, you went through and looked at all the people who said, I like it, and the ones who didn't, all the ones who said, I like it, were people who I would consider as in my segment. And I think that really speaks to, your comment is you've got to feel good about it and own it. Mm-hmm. And not just follow people blindly.
Right, absolutely.
So good for you. That's awesome. Okay, so let's look then at managing, because we've got to manage this business as we grow it, right? So you really leverage technology. Yeah. I know we could go on for days about this issue in general, but can you think of maybe one mistake that you think you see service professionals make around managing their business?
Yeah, not having a customer experience. I feel like, and I think that's one of the things that I did have an issue with, just like, okay, after you get the client, how do I want them to feel? Because I never want them to feel like I paid my money and they're not loved or appreciated or valued. You know, I want every person who comes through my company to feel appreciated, and just providing that customer experience. I think a lot of businesses, because we're in this so fast go environment, like, got to make the sale, got to do this. I feel the customer experience is really missing nowadays after the sale. Like, I feel like we do all this. A lot of people does all this work to get them in, but then afterwards, even after the work is completed, there's no experience being provided to them. And so I think that in management, I think that's the biggest mistake. The customer experience is so key, because that's going to keep that relationship, maintain that relationship. Right. And then they can be your marketing piece, your free marketing piece, if you provide them with a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great, and a really important thing to remember, that it is part of managing, that you need to create these systems and processes that really help people feel valued and not just a number. So yeah, really great point. All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit more into yourself. So next is growing, right? Mm-hmm. Learning about being a professional and growing it personally and professionally. what is one area that you want to grow in yourself with regards to building your business?
Yeah, so one was really so it was two, the marketing. I wanted to learn more about
Yeah.
marketing, and so I've already invested in that. And the secondly was speaking. I want to
Okay.
get more into speaking, so I hired a speaking coach and things like that. So those are the two areas I'll be focusing on: better marketing strategy and the speaking.
Great. Yeah. Awesome. And of course, leading. Okay. So
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, we're leaders to our clients. We're leaders in our industry, leaders to our team. What do you do, or what do you wish you had done more of to be seen as a leader in your industry segment
I
or
wish I
your
would have put
specialty?
myself out there more in the beginning
Okay.
to not compare myself to, because what I was doing was so unorthodox. I was afraid. So I really didn't put myself out there. So just being able to talk about my business and feel good about it, and know just because I'm not doing what the gurus or experts are doing, that I'm still doing good work. I'm still making an impact. So I think just in the beginning, just being unapologetic about who I am, my story, where I come from, to transition from an IP attorney to what I do now. Just feeling really confident in my story and not being ashamed about it, owning it. I think that's really what I wish I've done in the beginning. It just really own it and not feel shame from transitioning or feeling that fear or that ego popping up because of that.
Yeah. And I think also owning the uniqueness of your model,
Mhm.
right? Which speaks to confidence as well, as you mentioned. So many people are going to tell you you can't do it that way, right?
Yeah.
Or you shouldn't do it that way, or I wouldn't do it that way, or whatever they
Yeah.
can to make you wrong in some way. And yeah, I think it really does speak to just courageously owning, this is the way I'm doing it. I'll find out if it's wrong or not. And it's only my clients who matter, right? Between my
Right.
clients and me. So yeah, really well said. All right. Last but by no means least is living.
Mhm.
Tell me, what is one of your best practices for making sure that you're building a life as well as building a business?
Right. So I look at my relationship with my family. I never want to be stuck at a computer screen. Are we doing the things that we say we want to do? Are we spending time? Are we traveling? Are we comfortable, without being stressed out about money and bills? Are we in a better position than we were the year before? And so that's how I do a checks and balance thing, seeing like, okay, am I spending too much time on the computer? Okay, that means I need to delegate more. I need to hire more people. Is my husband looking at me like I'm crazy? And that's pretty much how I check and balance it.
Okay.
If I find myself, because I'm that type A personality, it has to be right. And then I love learning new things. So like I would sit down and learn something new just because for the sake of learning it, so I could teach my team. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a hands-on person.
Okay.
Like once I learn it, I'm gonna show them how to do it, and I expect them to duplicate me.
Yeah.
And so just in case I get sick, but I like to know what's going on in my business just in case someone isn't there. I like to be able to say like, okay, if I need to fix something on my website, I can go in and do it. Boom, 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 bam. No headache. I understand how it works. And so I do a lot of the learning in the business as well. Then I teach my team it. Um, and so, yeah, that's how I kind of check and balance my family life. Is just, okay, am I stuck at the computer?
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
and if so, then that means I need to delegate more. That means I need to bring on more people, because that means I didn't start a business so I can be like how I was at the law firm.
Right. Right. But often we end up having a worse boss than the one that we had when we had a job, right? I tell people sometimes I'm the meanest boss in the world to myself because
Yeah,
I'm still sitting at my desk when I know better and want to be
exactly.
downstairs. Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. Ree, thanks so much for being here. I could talk for hours about all this. So why don't you, people will be happy to hear, we won't though. So why don't you share exactly what it is that you do in a nutshell? I know it's much more complicated than in a nutshell, and
Yeah.
then where can people go to learn more about you and your services?
Yeah, thank you. So I help six-figure women entrepreneurs protect their assets by getting legit and profitable. And so what that means is I help you protect your trademarks, your copyrights, contracts, if you have a patent. And then I also help you figure out like, okay, once you're legit, how can you make more money in your business? So that's what I do. And if you're interested in learning more about me or my team or being a part of the team, because we are hiring, you could join us at www.searchforherexistence.com. I'm also on Facebook under my name, and I'm also under Instagram and LinkedIn under my name as well, Brigade Richmond.
Great.
Pretty
awesome.
simple.
That's fantastic. And of course, we'll have links to all of those sites so you don't have to remember them, and you can reach out to Brigade when at your convenience. Thank you so much for being with us, and it was just a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I hope you enjoyed that. I so admire Brigade's courage to truly build a business on her terms. If you like this episode, please share it with your connections. Please leave a great review for it on the platform where you consumed it, and be sure to subscribe either on that platform like iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Play, or you can subscribe to the video version on my YouTube channel at winnietv.com. But when you sign up to become a fan of the show at couragepodcastfan.com, you'll get access to all the episodes in the catalog, along with show notes, resources, and bonus content. In addition to the episodes, you'll also get information, tips, and resources to help you sell your services even though you hate to sell, get your message out in a more powerful way, and achieve your business goals. All right, so your cocktail exercise, otherwise known as a reflection exercise, no alcohol needs to be involved, don't overindulge, and don't drink and drive. Your reflection exercise is to really think about the path you're on and the business you're building. Is it what you want to do? And are you doing it in the way you want to do it? Meaning your model and your submodels, do they fit you, how you want to work, and the lifestyle that you want to lead? You don't have to do things in the way that others in your profession do them. You really can create a hybrid model that's unique to you and that borrows from other types of industries. Even doctors are creating unique business models outside of traditional show up, get treated, pay, copay. More doctors are embracing what they call telemedicine, which uses video conferencing and having patients pay a flat fee for different access levels of service. So give yourself permission to really take the time to create something that works for you. All right, your action step. Your model can be a way you position and differentiate yourself. I once refunded the money of a student who signed up for a course that I said they had to be present for. He said, I'll just watch the replay. And I said, no, you won't. And I refunded the money. Most people don't ever actually watch a replay, and I don't want to perpetuate that kind of behavior. I want to work with people who really do want to change and who are ready to make the commitment necessary to do that. But I wasn't always so brave. I started out with a very unique service that was delivered in an intensive type of format. But I got so worried about marketing it that I gave up. And I went to a traditional coaching model. Today, I'm back to my original structure. And now VIP days or intensives are a common thing that other people offer. So your action step is to identify one thing about how you work with clients that you'd love to change, and then do it. Structure it differently, whether it's a different intake process, or that clients have to complete a lengthy questionnaire, or everyone does free discovery calls and you don't want to do them. Figure out that one thing about how you work that you'd love to change, and then do it. You'll be so glad that you did. If you like this episode, please share it with your connections. Please leave a great review for it on the platform where you consumed it. And be sure to access this episode and the back catalog along with resources and bonus content at couragepodcastfan.com. Thanks for listening. And remember, you deserve all the success you dream of.